Hey everyone, welcome to our latest installment of MSP Business School. I'm Brian Doyle, and with me as always, I've got my co-hosts Rob Rogers and Tim McNeil. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Fantastic, man. It's finally getting warm.
Finally.
And up here in the Northeast, that's all we care about, man.
Yeah.
These winters seem to be getting longer. These summers seem to get shorter, but that's probably tying to the gray hair that's coming in on my head. As always, nobody wants to hear me lament about these things. So, let's kind of pivot things to our special guest today. The real reason everybody's here. We've got with us today Eric Weber. He's the Director of Sales for the MSP Advantage program over at Mindmatrix, and we want to welcome him today and thank him for joining us. How you doing today, Eric?
Hey, doing wonderful. Got a sunny day here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I thank you for having me on the podcast here.
Yeah, that still puts you sort of in the Northeast region when we talk about the whole country here. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of that better weather too.
Absolutely. I mean, I consider myself East Coast, so. Once you're on that Eastern time zone, you're East.
Yeah, that's right. Close enough.
Those of us guys here on the East Coast, we have our East Coast bias, right? So, but that said, Eric, you know what? We love to kick things off by first, getting to understand and learn a little bit more about the people we're talking to. So, maybe tell us a little bit about your journey into, coming into the world of MSPs and IT service providers.
Well, it was one that I actually just kind of found myself in. I didn't really actually look to get into it. It just sort of happened. I've sold all kinds of things throughout my life. I mentioned, Rob a little earlier. I started off my career with Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor, trying to sell financial products. Right after the bubble burst back in 2001, I was making upwards of 200 some cold calls a day, trying to get people to give me $500,000 over the phone to some green-eared kid right out of school.
That's right. Your friends and family.
Yeah.
I went through them pretty quick. Some broke me off a little bit, but others were like, let's wait and see. And I'm like, it's not going to be later if you wait and see.
You're like 12.
Yeah. And, but I sold mortgages after that. That wasn't too bad. Worked for Verizon and cell phones. Worked in education for 7 years. And then I found myself working at Mindmatrix. And when I started at Mindmatrix, I didn't even know what MSP stood for. It was like most special person or whatever here. I had no clue this whole industry even existed. But, the processes that I had done prior really translated over into this type of job. And, it's a good thing that ownership saw that, because I sure as heck didn't. I was just like, I need a job here, and you guys sound pretty cool. You sound like you got a bunch of cool things going on that, I might be able to easily talk about here. And it just kind of ended up working out that way, which I think some of the great things in life do. If you're really trying to get something, oftentimes you don't. You just, if it's meant to be, you find yourself there.
Yeah.
And then you go with it. So I mean, I've worked here longer than I have any other job in my career, and that's because I know it works. I got a good thing going, and I'm running that until the train stops.
How long have you been there, Eric?
Since January of 2015, so almost another month, 7.5 years.
Nice.
Wow.
Very good. That's awesome.
And I think I agree with your statement too. I think there's very few people that have woken up and said, hey, I'd like to start out a career in the IT service provider industry. I think most of us find an interesting path here. You mentioned you were doing some work in education and some of those processes translated. Maybe you can expand a little bit on, what you had there that really was intriguing to an MSP, because I do know our MSP community is always trying to figure out that game of process and how do we put things together to really help us become more efficient and streamline operations.
Yeah, I mean, processes are definitely a tough one, because oftentimes, that MSP owner, they're not even sure what they want. Do I want somebody to farm my existing accounts, or go get me new ones, or what don't I like to do? And they want to hire for that. And then, once they get somebody in the door, it's like, well, what's this person supposed to be doing for 8 hours a day? But I think what transitioned over good for me was, especially more in the admissions role, because, you had a swath of maybe, 3, 4, 5,000 some contacts, you're constantly calling them throughout the day, had different call blocks. And the idea was to set an appointment to do a, rather than a sales demo, more of a interview is what we call them, or a quality conversation. But, really for discovery, find out, hey, they're going to be a good fit here. Tell them a little bit about it, see if it makes sense to apply and go to the next step there. Once they've applied, then obviously you need to build out a plan, or AKA a proposal, make sure that they agree to that, get them started. And then the most important thing is you got to keep them. So, with really going down through the sales funnel, that from like prospects, to interviews or demos to proposals, and then to closed won or lost, I had already been doing that process for the past, I stayed there 6 years and 11 months. So a little less than, I was here, but from already doing that for the prior, we'll just say 7 years, it's like, hey, we already got somebody that understands this. We don't have to teach this to him.
Yeah.
Have plenty of other experience in that. Like, we just need to show, teach him what we do, what the product is, and let him go. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I'm always jealous of people with this at other jobs. Somebody sets an appointment on their first call. I actually did here. Finally, it happened for me. I'm like, this is a good start. This is a very good omen here. I didn't get anything for the next 2 days, but it's something, and get the ball rolling. But I think, Rob, to your question there, when, somebody, is looking for that process, is, they're just going to go hunt new logos, take a look at your clients, and it's like, hey, is everybody all on the same thing here? Do I want them just farming this? Because to do both of those, they're actually two separate jobs, unless you're going to be very clear about that up front. Like, hey, maybe in the morning you hunt for new people, in the afternoon, you farm what we got, and then the next day switch it up. That way you're getting different people at different times.
Different times, yeah.
Then it comes into that process. How do we get from A to B to C to D and so forth?
Very good. So real quick question for you. And like every salesperson that's listening to this call, most of them did some type of, Morgan Stanley or whatever it was called back, American Financial, whatever they were called back then. How long did you make it in the financial business?
I was there for about 12 months.
12 months. Wow, that's really good, man. That's better than most.
Like two. I made it 10.
After the NASDAQ burst, 9/11, I mean, it's just doom and gloom on the news. I mean, the couple months leading up to that were awesome. It's like, all right, I just got out of school wearing a 3-piece suit to work and a tie. Like, I felt all important. I had cufflinks on. I'm like, I made it, man.
You got it.
And then everything just fell apart after that. But you grind your way through it. I was making upwards, 200 calls a day sometime, just getting hung up left and right.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Rob, I learned more in that 12 months there than I did my entire, at college, because that gave you that thick skin. And it also showed that, hey, can you grind this out? Are you going to quit when it gets rough?
Yeah.
You got to push through. And I stayed until they told me to go. I'm like, I'm not throwing in the towel on this. I want to squeeze every ounce I can from it.
Good for you.
And I think that's something else that, applied into successes elsewhere too.
Yeah.
The easy thing you can do is show up.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's half the battle, they always say, right? Showing up's half the battle.
Absolutely. Hey, I had 4 years perfect attendance in high school, if you can believe that.
Really?
Showed up.
Oh, really? Yeah, no.
I
was not on that train. I was on the other side. I was on the other side.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out how to get some of those days we skipped as exemptions.
Yeah, they were optional. It was just.
I don't know. I graduated.
I can miss 25 days. I'm going to miss 25 days.
So Eric, kind of like take us into, we kind of went through your backstory a little bit. Take us into Mindmatrix, right? Because, that's what a lot of people in the industry, especially if you're on the circuit, a lot of people in this industry know you and they know Mindmatrix because of you. So kind of like walk us through how you started there and like what got you into what you're doing now.
Sure. Well, they actually have two sides of the business. There's their channel and vendor side, where we work with a lot of vendors that sell their products in through a channel program or a partnership or reseller. And, how a lot of companies will have a CRM for their client relationship management. For some of these, we'll create their CRM portal for their partner relationship management. Way to onboard their partners, make sure everybody's up to snuff on what to do. place to register their deals so the vendor can pay the partners their commissions, place to grab content so the partner can sell more of the vendor more easily. A way to stay in front of them through partner marketing, partner sales enablement, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. But the other side of our house, our MSP Advantage program, or Technology Provider Advantage program, is really derivative of our enterprise solution. We took the platform to add all the partner and marketing enablement and basically build around that with content that is relevant for technology service providers, added in concierge services to help with the busy work, consulting, to make sure that, hey, are we actually doing this right? We're not driving down the wrong road thinking we're making great time. And boom, we had a whole brand other business units. But how I started off in that was I was initially hired for the sales role. But what I really enjoyed about how the way that I was onboarded is for my first 2 months, I was a glorified appointment setter. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be easy here because, I've already been used to doing that. But one of the things, and this is how I brought everybody else on board as well, too, because I'm like, all right, it works for me. I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just going to do it for somebody else. Don't need to, go Google a bunch of things and, watch it, blow up and smoke. But, for the first 2 months, I was just setting appointments. I was calling through this burn list so that if I screwed it up, who cared? It was all cool stuff anyway. And I think my first week, I might have set, 4, 5 appointments like that, which was good. I didn't really know how to qualify them. So I actually went into every call saying, hey, Rob, it's Eric over at Mindmatrix. How you doing today? Great. I'm like, hey, I saw you're interested in our MSP Advantage program. I just wanted to see if you're free next week to set up some time. Most of them would be like, what the hell is he talking about? Or, what's that? and I would give them a 30-second once over and I go, were you looking for help within sales and marketing? The answer was yes. I just bought myself another couple minutes to qualify.
Yeah.
If it was no, I hung up. But I always went in expecting that they have a need because, one, I know they have a need, but they don't know if they clicked on something, filled something out. They're so busy anyway. It was just such an easy way to get people into the door.
It's an easy way to just get their antenna up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But, for those first 2 months with setting these appointments and my other colleague, he would do some of the demos and I would sit there and listen, or the boss would come in and he'd do them and I'd sit there and listen because I was going to have to do them eventually. But after those 2 months were up, I already had a nice pipeline that I was working with. I had something to start with. I'm like, okay, these are guys that I demoed here. These are the people that didn't show. These are the ones that said, call me back. So I was really able to hit that ground running and it made a huge difference. I mean, my 4th month, I brought 4 deals in. And I'm like, okay, we got something here. Let's just rinse, wash, and repeat and rock it out. And 7 years later, still doing it.
Nice.
Obviously, I don't have to, set the calls anymore. But, occasionally, a couple of times a year, maybe a handful, I'll grab a list of 100 and I'll go cold call myself just to try and keep my skills sharp.
Yep.
Because we can always get better. Yep. And the nice thing about it is too, I'm like, I know I don't have to do this forever, once I get through there, but, and I like to create some competitions with the other guys as well too. I'm like, I bet you I can set more than you do. And I bet you they show more. We throw some bragging rights on the line there.
Right.
I mean, competition brings out the best in everybody.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
First prize is a Cadillac. Second prize, set a steak knife.
Third
Third prize, fire.
Always be closing.
No, but that's awesome. And what I love to, really in the beginning part of that story is really it's the legwork makes everything work, right? And it's setting that process and really being, what I'm hearing reading between the lines is being diligent in the follow-up, right? The way you were categorizing your prospects is making sure you're going to follow up there. I know, Rob, you talk about getting your list of the targeted 250 and really tracking them and going after them. But that's still an art form that you see many salespeople not really, putting into their DNA. They just, they'll go make calls and they forget to do the follow-ups and they get, they forget that things don't happen in those first couple touches. So, that's really awesome that you really, put forth that process and then to hear the results in month 4, that's, that's what people need. If you can't get motivated, listener out there, that if you just put in the legwork in months 1 through 3 and month 4, you'll start having some success. Then you're missing the boat.
Yeah, it's a continual, ground and pound.
I mean, look, that's how we that's how we start a lot of the salespeople that we manage, right? I mean, we literally go in telling them no matter how much experience you have, the first couple months in this position under us is going to be kind of back to telemarketing, but it's for a reason. So they can get that pipeline, and it's so they don't have to do it forever. So they do it out of the gate. It's short, it's painful, but once you get over it, you're in a much better place, and you're better for it because you know the industry that much faster.
Yeah, and I think also too, it kind of lets you know, like, you know, somebody can ace an interview. Some people are amazing at selling themselves in the interview, and then they get into the job, and it's like, who's this? You know,
Yeah.
it's also a good place to flush that out a little bit and see, is this really the right fit? Or, you know, it's an easy way to see if they're going to work out without it costing you a ton of money or ruining any type of reputation out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Eric, you got to Mindmatrix about 7.5 years ago, you said, like right around there.
Correct.
Okay.
January
And so
15.
Okay, and so like you got there, and the kind of the MSP Advantage program was kind of fledgling at that time, right? It was kind of just starting out, or like how did you get into it and like really push that forward, or was it you?
Well, it had been operational for about maybe I want to say 2.5, 3 years, and then it had gone through like a very large makeover.
Okay.
From what I understand, and I might not be 100% on this, but it was kind of buggy. It was more just the platform, not really like the help, the guidance, the content, and people liked it, but they're like, great, I got this huge honking thing. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Like, I got a business to run here. So it didn't really have all the key components yet to it. So by the time I got there, the guy that hired before me was only there for like, 2 or 3 months. He's basically doing the same thing I was before. He's trying to get some stuff going here and there. Yeah. But, when I came in, I really saw this. I'm like, wow, everything I'm doing here, translation is what I just spent doing, but, different pieces here with different names. So it was, really off to the races after that. I'm like, wow, I can apply everything I learned here. I don't have to really learn, much new of a process, just the terminology. And tech is always cool anyway. I think that's why, I was meant to be in here, talking about emissions and stuff. It's kind of like, but I mean, I can walk into a Best Buy and spend 2 hours in there and not buy anything. I mean, I just, I like pushing buttons. I like technical stuff like that. So learning into this, I was like, wow, there's this whole brand new thing I can do here. And they gave me a lot of leash, to really run with this. And it's like, I can write my own ticket here and, really put a stamp on things. So I'm asking questions all the time, trying to say, hey, can we maybe go do this show? And then it got to the point, after you brought some deals in, it's kind of like, hey, you know what you're doing? It's like, all right, well, maybe we should go this route with the programmer. Maybe we should add this into the mix or increase this price or do these different things. Like, ownership was really asking me sometimes, like, hey, what do you think will work in here? You're on the ground floor, you're doing everything. Right. So I really got to put a stamp on it as well. I mean, everybody else had their parts as well too. It's not all me, but at least I could see my fingerprints on it, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's a good feeling.
As, absolutely. Even just building out some different playbooks and having ownership's confidence in me, like, hey, let him go ahead and do this here because he knows it's going to work here, and it's a way that we can bring more in and help people, employees of ours become more efficient with that. So it's a really great feeling not having to go through all that red tape. It's like, I might have 10 ideas, 8 of them might get shot down, and that's fine, but at least you get the opportunity to get them in there.
Yeah.
You're heard out, and when you see it in there, it is a great feeling, Rob. I mean, it's awesome, and you kind of feel like it's your baby in a bit of a way.
Yeah, very nice.
That's great.
So, one of the things we love to talk about when we have this show too is kind of a transformational moment for you, or something that's interesting that's come up in your career that kind of changed the course. And it sounds like you've had a few of them, just talking about the different walks of life you had. But maybe we can focus a little bit more on the MSP side of things. And, what was either a challenge you faced or a success you had that really kind of changed how you viewed things and really helped you accelerate the program?
That's a good one. I would have to say, one thing that really, I think, kind of got the ball rolling and really started ramping things up it was after I don't want to say one of the first trade shows. It was an Autotask Community Live.
Mhm.
You know, the chance, you know, because I had never been to an event like that before. So to go down there, you know, and see all these booths set up everywhere, you know, because I had only just known the Mindmatrix ecosystem up until that point, calling on people, doing demos, you know, bring deals in.
Yeah.
But when I got into that space, you know, I just looked around, I'm like, there is so much I don't know.
Yeah.
But it gave me, you know, a little bit of anxiety because I'm like, man, there's a lot I don't know. But it was also pretty good too because I'm like, wow, there's a lot more to this. Like, I'm not going to burn out here with getting bored with this because A, it's technology. I mean, it's always going to evolve and advance, you know, but then B, it's like, you can't learn all of it. You know, you're not going to run out of that space. But I think being down there, I was really able to utilize all my skills because when I was with Verizon, I did a lot of face-to-face selling. You know, when I'm here at the office, you know, it's all over the phone. Sometimes, you know, on a, you know, a cam share like this.
Yeah.
But I was really able to put both of them together there. And like in all my sales jobs, you know, I'm a huge proponent of people buy from people they like. You know, so sell yourself. That's why it's worked in a bunch of different fields, whether over the phone or in person. Like people are buying Eric Weber. They like me, they're going to buy from me if there's the need.
Mhm.
So, but I think down at that Autotask show, you know, I had a chance to go golfing, which was really cool. I'm out there, you know, it was me, an Autotask guy, and then one of the attendees, you know, a threesome there.
Mhm.
We all talked business for about the first 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time, we golf, we're smoking cigars, drinking beer, talking fantasy football, just having a blast. I'm like, all right, I was born for this. This is wonderful. Send me to everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the guy closed 3 weeks later. And I'm like, okay, we're on to something here. Let's just keep doing this process over and over. And I think that was a real kind of turning point there. I'm like, you're in the right spot, man. You know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, you know, and it is that community that really makes a difference, right? You know, and you talked a little bit about fantasy football. I'm almost ready to pull out the hardware right now and show you that, you know what that's all about over here. But, you know, all kidding aside, I think this, you know, every industry has its fraternity, but I think the MSP industry has been one that really has built a very fraternal type of group of vendors and really has a close-knit group of vendors that are working out there, both, you know, competitively, but cooperatively, and really, you know, are working together to try to rise everybody up. You know, that old saying, you know, what's it, sailing ships rise up together or something like that. But, thank you very much. You know, I know how to butcher any cliche.
I mean, there's a big enough piece of the pie out there for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, it just, you know, building on what you said, Brian. I mean, you know, it's nice seeing a lot of the same folks out there because, you know, sometimes people change where they're going here and there, and that's fine. You know, but, you know, I've recommended people to other folks and stuff I don't even do before. Like, oh, yeah, hey, maybe you should go talk to Eric or this and that. You know, it's a way for us to leverage each other to make our jobs a little bit easier. And, yeah, I mean, the more you work together, you know, it's always better to have friends in it.
So I think we're heading towards the end of our time together, are we not?
We are, sir. We are.
So with that, I've asked Tim to do his favorite thing in life all over again.
What are you talking about, Brian?
Come on now. So, guys,
so
we're
you
bringing
didn't
it
get 'em all
back
right,
by
though.
popular demand.
You didn't get them all right. There were some of them I do remember.
No. These are new questions, Tim. We're gonna roll, change with the tides here. But,
all right.
But again, Eric, we promise
2.0.
you nothing that can get you canceled. But the 5-question rapid fire is coming back by popular demand.
All right, let's do this.
And Eric, you are the guinea pig for the comeback.
Wow. All right, here we go.
So first one, talk, text, or Teams?
Say that again.
Talk, text, or Teams?
What's your favorite?
Oh, talk.
Okay.
Old school. I love it.
This kind of plays into what we were just talking about. Meetings in person or remote?
I prefer person.
Yeah.
I do more remote, but person's always nice. You can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, remote's kind of the way of the world for I think that's here to stay. Rock, rap, or country?
Rock.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Definitely rock.
So here's if you don't answer this as a yes, we got a problem. Does marketing work?
Yes. Absolutely.
And if you weren't associated with the IT world or the MSP space, what would you be doing?
That's a good question. Probably something in sales, where I can talk to people, maybe medical devices or something, because I know they make a pile of money. If I didn't have to worry about money, I'd probably be on the golf course, just something that allows you to be outside, throughout the day.
Yep. Very cool.
All right, very good. All right, fellas. Eric, we really appreciate you being here today with us. And, I just want to kind of sum up what we talked about here. There's a couple of things that I want the listeners to hear. So everybody can understand you, Eric, as clearly you're a very good salesperson, right? But, one of your jobs that you had when you were younger, you made it a year, right? Before you got canned, laid off, whatever terminology it used.
Yep.
But then you went to your next job and you made it over 6 years. And then you made it to your job after that and you made it 7 years. So all resumes are not built the same. So I just want to make sure that the listeners kind of understand that sometimes is, especially in this market where there's really tough recruiting, you clearly see this great sales guy coming at you, but, he has a 1-year stint somewhere. You've dominated, you've done really well, and you're to be commended there. And so, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So, go ahead, Brian.
Nope. I was just going to say, I think we've got to be open-minded as an industry, because I know we've been talking about these talent gluts that look for talent, look for personality. Obviously, Eric, you weren't coming from the IT space, but these guys knew that you could do an IT job. And I think we all got to, really look to ourselves and say, where can we find candidates and help them come into the industry that they might not have even considered before, and help them rise up and meet the challenge. So, obviously you took it and ran with it and crushed it, Eric. Kudos, man.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, and I know we're wrapping up here, but just to add on that, what kind of helped get me in there, and this didn't even come up in conversation, but at Morgan Stanley, my sales manager there, she would hire people that were bartenders. She's like, they know how to talk to everybody, and that's what this job is, talking to people. If you're comfortable with that, we can teach you the A, B's, and the C's.
Yeah.
The process.
Yeah.
You have to have that innate ability to hey, be outgoing and just go converse with people. I think it's something that you're born with or you're not.
Yeah.
And then if you are, you build upon that, you fine tune it over the years. Yeah. As long as you can speak with somebody, the rest can be taught.
It's half the battle.
It is. All right. For anybody who's looking to get in touch with Eric, we will be including his LinkedIn information with the podcast. This episode will be up on mspbusinessschool.com and anywhere that you do get your podcast, including YouTube. So, fellas, Eric, it was a pleasure, sir. I can't wait to see you at one of the trade shows, have a beer with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Brian, Robb, hey, appreciate you guys having me here. I really enjoyed this and hope to come back again sometime.
Absolutely, Eric.
Absolutely.
It's good having you on.
All right.
All
Take
right.
care, everybody.
Have a good one.
Take care.